Hello, and welcome to episode 179 of Prog Review. And if you can't read the description, I'm going to be talking about the rise and fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars from that young Mr. David Jones. Or David Bowie. Or David Bowie. You say Bowie, I say Bowie, you say Zoe, I say Zowie, let's call the whole thing off. I should stop, shouldn't I? I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of this record. I've never been a big fan of this record, and I doubt that I'll ever be a big fan of this record. I'm not really sure what it is. It could be that it lacks a lot of the humour that you normally find on a David Bowie album, or it could be that I find the old Ziggy Stardust thing utterly contrived. I'm one of those folks who much prefers the lightness of touch that comes with Hunky Dory, the album that precedes this, rather than the crack a walnut with a sledgehammer approach of Ziggy. But I feel only fair to declare my bias when talking about this particular concept album. Now, even though this is widely appreciated as a concept album, it's a concept that is spread very thinly across the record. It's not so much about the story, but it's more about the character that Bowie adopts in the form of Ziggy Stardust. He's an androgynous, sexually ambiguous space alien that comes to Earth with a message. Or is he? There's many ways to interpret the story. But the album opens with the terminally miserable 5 years, which predicts that the planet Earth will face its demise in that period of time. It's a song so desolate that it makes Pink Floyd's The Wall and the final cut seem like the teddy bear's picnic in comparison. Where the song sits in the concept isn't fully explained, but I guess Ziggy appears Christ-like as a saviour of the Earth, but gets too preoccupied with being a rock and roller to actually bother to fucking save any of us. That's not cool, man. That's not cool. This is followed by Soul Love. It's a song that attempts to fuse Motown, doo-wop and rock guitar into a heady broth, but it doesn't really do anything for me. I'm not a soul man, and it feels quite inconsequential, bang the microphone, in the Ziggy experience. Alternatively, Moon Age Daydream is an important song on the album. It explains the story of the lead character. It defines him in aspects of religion, sexual freedom, rebellion, turning him quite naturally into an archetypal rock star. That's the kind of character you're going to get in those days. It charts his birth and actual creation. And it's a classic track, and there's not much more that needs to be said about it. Meanwhile, Starman chronicles Ziggy's first appearance to a guy, tuning into his long wave radio, and it sees him as the messenger of the extraterrestrial Starman, and his tunes are picked up on that long wave radio and give hope to the doomed population of Earth. The Starman is not Ziggy, oh no, but Ziggy's boss, and Ziggy is merely a conduit for his message. I'm sure I've heard that kind of story somewhere before, where there's a guy with a message who has another guy on Earth to relate that message. Nah, it escapes me at the moment. It's a breakthrough song for Bowie, and it finds itself at the beating heart of the album. It's optimistic, and in terms of production and writing, it owes a lot to the Hunky Dory album that comes before. Again, it's another bona fide classic from Bowie, and is actually a personal favourite of mine. Now, let's all the children boogie, shall we? It Ain't Easy is a song written by Ron Davis, which was also covered by the band Three Dog Night on their 1970 album of the same name. I'm not sure exactly how it fits in with the Ziggy concept, but maybe it's just a song about faith overcoming unsurmountable obstacles, and Bowie thought, hey, this fits nicely. I don't know. I mean, it's okay, but when you compare it to the other tracks, it doesn't sit that well. It kind of sticks out a bit, compared to the other songs that are on the album. Then this is followed, if you turn it over, if it was an LP, by Lady Stardust, which is widely regarded as being about the late great Mark Bolan, a personal friend of Bowie. But of course there's a Ziggy spin to the lyric in which the character is watching Lady Stardust perform and sing his songs. Hark, my son, sing and perform. And the Ziggy character is inspired by Lady Stardust. And so the story continues with the character developing his plan to become a rock and roll star, as documented by the track Star. And meanwhile, Hang On To Yourself sees the band taking the riffs of Eddie Cochran and infusing them with almost proto-punk snare, and features some great slidey guitar work from the late great Mick Ronson. I'm saying late great too often. That's without mentioning Mick Woodman's... no, wrong one. Trevor Bolder. Always get mixed up. I'll say that again. And so I'm going to edit this right. And so the story continues with the Ziggy character developing his plan to become a rock and roll star, as documented with the track Star, while Hang On To Yourself sees the band taking the riffs of Eddie Cochran and infusing them with the most proto-punk snare, and features some great slidey guitar work from the late great Mick Ronson. I'm using late great too often here, especially when you think that Trevor Bolder only passed not that long ago. And then we come to the song that actually is the narrative heart to the album. It's Ziggy Stardust, in which the entire life cycle of the leper messiah is described in detail to the point where the song becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Bowie ends up breaking up the band for real. Again, it's another classic, and it distills the Ziggy story into a single song. In fact, you don't need the album. The song it's a concept song, not a concept album, because the whole story is compressed and distilled and squashed and squeezed into the single song. And that is a testament to how good Bowie is as a songwriter and for creating a scene. Suffragette City feels tacked on in comparison and sees Bowie splicing Little Richard with Anthony Burgess's Clockwork Orange. Again, Bowie takes a riff from the 50s and somehow makes it feel contemporary and current and futuristic all in one go. I'm not a particularly big fan of the song. I don't understand how it fits on the record, but it's a classic, and I respect that. The album ends with the melodramatic closer Rock and Roll Suicide, which is part Jacques Brel, part Baudelaire, and acts as a stylistic bookend to the opening track 5 Years. Again, it's a song of misery and woe, but this time the closing refrain is actually one of hope. You're not alone. Give me your hands. You're wonderful. And so it doesn't quite end on a sour note. In fact, the final string flourish reminds me of the Beatles and that end of the Day in the Life. That was good, that one. As a concept album, Ziggy is a little underwhelming. The narrative is contained in all but a few songs. The other songs seem incongruous in comparison. But on the other hand, it is a classic album, and it sees Bowie stretching out and for the first time in his career looking around culturally and tapping into the zeitgeist and synthesising an alter ego with which to hide behind. It's a process he would, go on to reuse with Aladdin Sane, Halloween Jack, The Thin White Duke, Nathan Adler. It's an album of its time, though, and it's riding the glam rock wave, and is almost the last gasp attempt by Bowie to secure fame, because he was hungry for it at this time. He'd already had a few albums out and nothing had made an impact, but this one was the breakthrough. Seems strange when you think of it in that context. Now, this is why I have issues with the Ziggy in the album, because there's parts of the character, the look of it, the way he's dressed, the album, the way it sounds, it feels contrived. In only a way that Bowie could do it. He takes talented musicians, squeezes their essence, and is the catalyst, and that's what he does with this record. And it doesn't feel like a real Bowie record. It feels like Bowie's playing at being a version of himself, which I don't know if that makes any sense whatsoever. But on the other hand, and there's a lot of hands here, almost like an octopus. On the other hand, I have to bow. I'm doing it again. Bowie. I have to bow my head to the iconic nature of the album. Look at the sleeve, it's iconic, and the music that's contained therein is iconic. But for me, I'd still rather listen to Hunky Dory or Aladdin Sane or Station to Station or Low or Heroes or a multitude of other Bowie albums than this one. So when it comes in terms of a rating, I'm not gonna mess around. I'm gonna give this 4 spangly jumpsuits out of 5. That's 4 spangly jumpsuits out of 5, because if I gave it 1, you'd all say, how did Green Day score more, and get upset with me. The rating system doesn't mean anything. But before I go, let's see what's on my desk, because you'll be interested in this. I'm going to give you a little glimpse of what might be coming next. Operation Brain Fart. That one from that awful rock band Dream Theater. Passengers, anyone? And some Songs for the Deaf. One of those is going to be the next one up in my concept album challenge. Oh yes. My name's been Darren Luck. I've been babbling on about Ziggy Stardust. Sorry, I've got to get this right. I've been babbling on about the rise and fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars from David Bowie. And you've been a very patient audience. 1972, all those years ago. My God, where's the time gone? I was a mere babe at arms. Had more hair then as well, I think. And that's that. Only one more thing that's left to say. You know what that is, and I know what that is, and we do it every time. Are you ready? Are you ready? Prog on.